some people will be able to turn whatever an influencer actually is into something very viable and positive and inspiring. But then there is a large percentage of influencers where it's just discount codes and attention seeking and vanity metrics, and that's all it seems to be. You're not really doing anything for anyone.
Every business coach that I know personally, certainly on the fitness industry thing, they all have influencers in their groups because they had a lot of followers, a lot of people ready to buy, had no idea how to make a business, and they were struggling.
Like you say, the cream always rises to the top, but I don't think it. I think the world's changed now with these platforms. It doesn't. It's now who's got the loudest voice and who can create the most emotional response. That's what rises to the top now. So it's not always the best content.
So Rob, it's been a while since we've got one of these, and I said before coming on air that I've generally missed this weekly catch up with my mum and dad being down for 3 weeks, which has been amazing. But how's your 3 weeks been since we last caught up on here?
It's been eventful, believe it or not. I feel like I've done a lot, but I couldn't actually tell you what it all was. So I must have been busy, but busy doing nothing. But man, it's been good. It's been good. We kind of touched on it already, but obviously this is like a nice weekly catch up at the same time. But it's also routine. And so as soon as something goes out the window for a little bit, for a couple of weeks, that routine slips. I wouldn't say I've necessarily done anything productive with the extra couple of hours I got every Thursday morning. But yeah, we're good, man. We're good. High on energy.
I'm glad to hear it. You're right in that it's a routine, these weekly catch ups. It's just like as you said, I don't think we're particularly negative for a peek behind sort of like the let's go into sort of shoot mode, peek behind the curtain. Before we go on air, is our chance to rant about everything in life, what we like, what we don't like, what we've seen, the people we think are pricks, all that sort of wonderful stuff. We don't want to click record so we don't get sued.
The pre-podcast,
the pre-podcast ranty stuff. Eventually, we'll launch a Patreon so you can sign up and listen to our pre-rants. But it's almost therapeutic. It's that's whenever you're thinking whatever, and we said we're going to do this in a future episode of how it's life is getting harder for people, especially with social media comparison. And sometimes it's just good to sort of like have that an outside perspective and not get in your own head. Yeah. But that being said, on the topic of social media, we thought this episode, you came up with a great idea, which could either go super positive or super ranty. So I don't know where this is going to go. But talking about tribalism in the fitness industry. And I think this is a good week because you had a post go viral this week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what happened with your social media this week?
3.4 million? My God, it might be more by now. 3.4 million views on this stupid fucking video where I don't even actually make much sense. I'm tired while I'm fucking filming it. All I did was tick the box of I need to post something on social media that day, which, isn't that typical that's the video that goes flipping viral. One where I just went 3.5 million views. Jesus. One where I just went, fuck this. Let's just do something stupid. It's 30 seconds long. I'm not even making full sense in it. It's 10:30 at night. I'd had a horrible flipping day, long day, and whatever. And that's the vid that goes fucking viral. Not the ones that I spend hours editing and researching and all that stuff. It's just typical, But it truly went viral to the point where within the first couple of days, it did nothing. And then a couple of days after that, it shot up to like 10,000 views or something, which I know in the grand scheme is not viral. But for me, I'm like, that's pretty cool. 10,000 views, cool. And then it just would not fucking stop. Likes every second, comments every couple of minutes. People arguing against comments that are already on there, creating their own little conversations. And it just never stopped. And within less than a week, it was at 1 million views. And then it's still going. 3.5 now. It just keeps on fucking going. And it keeps on going because it's not a great video. It's people are commenting and arguing against each other now. That's why it's still flipping going. So if anyone out there really wants to go viral, just say something ever so slightly polarizing that other people are going to argue against each other about. Because they'll keep going back to the comments. I've turned my notifications off every now and then just to indulge myself a little bit. I'll jump on a fairly sarcastic comment and be fairly sarcastic myself. Because that's what I would fucking do. And that's what I would do in real life. So there's your tip. Create something ever so slightly polarizing that I didn't really do. It's not even a polarizing topic. It's don't eat like a fucking gorilla. And it brought everyone out in full force. It brought the vegans out. It brought the vegetarians out. It brought the omnivores, the herbivores, the fruitarians. It brought spiritual people out. It brought the Dr. Sebi crowd out. It brought the racists out. You fucking name it. They're on that. They're commenting on that fucking post. It's ridiculous and kind of scary at the same time.
What was the racist angle? Without going so deep that we get ourselves cancelled. What was like? How did eating like a gorilla bring out a racist comment?
Well, the original racists were the white guys, saying stupid, pathetic things that I called out or deleted. If it was really fucking bad, I deleted it. If it was just moronic, I'm going to call you out for being moronic. Based on, obviously, the skin colour of the people saying that thing. Then there were the people that linked those guys to gorillas. Ha ha, fucking, what are we in primary school? Good one. Then, some would argue this doesn't exist. Then the black racists come out. There was one comment, white demon dispelling black god. White demon? What the fuck are you about, bruv?
It's a great name for a band, isn't it?
So I might change, maybe that's my new online persona, the white demon.
At the white demon. I mean, it's me, if you want to be polarizing, put it in your bio.
And then there's people saying, stay in your lane. Nothing to do with my argument, just to do with the colour of my skin. Stay in your lane. But this typical black people always, white people always talking over black people. Do they not realise that we have different biologies and what the white man eats, the black man shouldn't eat, and all this stupid fucking stuff, right? But again, it's just another tick in the Instagram algorithm box going, more comments. And because someone's saying something like that, more people are jumping to defend me or attack me further, and it just pushed. And it's not fucking stopping. It's slowing a little bit, but it's not flipping stopping. I don't know when it stops.
You know, because it's interesting. It's interesting to unpack. Like as you said, this was of all the posts. I mean, you've made some great videos and with some great editing skills and all this sort of stuff. And this is the one that goes mental. And I say this with all due respect. This isn't. I don't think anywhere near your best video. I don't think I personally can tell it's one of your late night videos because I know some of the quality that you can do. That's a compliment to your good work. And this is the one that goes mental. And like, do you think now with social media that they talk about the cream, the old expression, the cream rises to the top, right? Like if you're good at what you do, you will be the person that rises. Do you think now, it's a kind of double-edged question, do you think now that the way social media algorithms go that whether you like a post or dislike a post, if your post creates an emotion is what gets a response, we're actually encouraging I don't want to say lesser members of society, but people that aren't there to educate, aren't there to help, that are just there to be polarizing, they're the people that get ahead in life now. And a follow-up question to that is, what do you think that's doing to the psyche of young, driven people that want to live with integrity and feel like they just can't keep up?
Yeah. I want to say maybe it was on Modern Wisdom a few times where they mentioned that in China, the top career choice amongst school kids was
influencer,
whatever it was. And then in America, the top choice was influencer. So it's definitely warping what people think a career looks like. And I'm not saying everyone needs to jump in a 9 to 5 in an office, and some people will be able to turn whatever an influencer actually is into something very viable and positive and inspiring. But then there is a large percentage of influencers where it's just discount codes and attention seeking and vanity metrics, and that's all it seems to be. You're not really doing anything for anyone.
I know every business coach that I know personally, certainly on a fitness industry thing, they all have influencers in their groups because they had a lot of followers, a lot of people ready to buy, had no idea how to make a business, and they were struggling.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember and this is the thing then, like you say, the cream always rises to the top, but I think the world's changed now with these platforms. It doesn't. It's Now, who's got the loudest voice and who can create the most emotional response? That's what rises to the top now. So it's not always the best content. And again, without wanting to directly call anyone out, and even then, he's certainly not the worst. But I remember doing a recruitment day interview with a young lad. And I said, what have you done recently to upgrade your education? And he had said he had read James Smith's book. And I was like, right, you're going into one of the best personal training gyms in the world, where you've just gone through this intense case study process. And that's how you want to say you're up-leveling your education to deserve a job at this place. That's a little bit skewed, in my opinion. But, you know, for some people, that's what the cream of the crop is. For us, we know things go a lot more deeper and more relevant than that. And without how many coaches we follow or we've learned insane methods from that we've taken into our own practice that existed way before social media, that actually wrote books, actually did seminars, that sort of stuff. You know, that to us is the cream of the crop. But again, now the world has changed. It's now about attention. We're in an attention economy more than anything else. And what do people want to do with that? Like I said to you just before we came on, I was kind of going to delete my social media anyway. And okay, even now it's blown up, I'm still in the mindset I want to delete it. It's not been a massively positive thing for me, but I want to help people in the most direct way that I can. I don't like playing this attention game.
No.
And you can make the best, like we just said, you can make the best quality thing you possibly could with clear explanations, backing it up, all sorts of stuff. And the thing that goes viral is a 30-second late night clip where I just wanted to tick the box. It's weird, right? It's weird.
And it is. And you were saying about the people that we know that have been involved in this before social media, and a lot of those people grew followings before social media.
Yeah.
Like, I went through Cass in this, because I think Cass has done pretty well with social media in spite of the fact that he puts out educational content. But also Cass, and I say this with absolute love for the guy, he's lent into the polarizingness. He created a feud with Pat Davison to sell out the seminar.
Yeah.
Now, could he have sold out the seminar without the feud? Yes. But isn't it a shame that we have to do that? Because I've watched a lot of that seminar, and there's no animosity. None. And there's a bit of this, okay, how do we make this social media worthy? And I get that's always been a part of marketing, but I admire people. We talk about Paul Standel before coming on. I absolutely admire Paul. I think he's a great guy and great coach. But like, we spoke about his editing skills. We didn't speak about his biomechanics knowledge before coming on it. And his biomechanics knowledge is phenomenal, right? But I admire him because he is a guy. He's not as young as some of the new guys, but we don't shit on them, but we poke holes in the people not applying biomechanics properly a lot on this. But I admire the people in our bubble that are trying to be better and trying to know more and go a level deeper, when there are so many coaches out there that are just throwing in I heard this thing yesterday from X coach on Instagram, and I'm now going to make a video repeating that without actually understanding it. I saw a video the other day of someone doing single arm rows on a machine. He talks about why that you should take a 30-second breather between doing a single arm machine row, because you're actually going to take away from your muscle gains because of the cardiovascular effect of doing the other arm. And I'm like, I kind of get it if this is a single arm dumbbell row, but this is a machine single arm row. Like, if your cardiovascular system's that bad, you maybe should be doing some other stuff. You know, they heard the quote and they've not thought further.
That's it. Yeah, heard a quote, not look deeper into it, and it's like you already said that word, tribalism. It's almost dogmatism more than anything. It just ticks that box of, oh my God, I believe that, I'm correct, I'm going to double down on that, without really any backing behind it. And yes, of course, there is an argument that some studies and some science is funded a certain way to prove certain points. And of course it is. There's bias in every fucking field. But that doesn't automatically mean that field is incorrect. So yes, we have to take everything and look at the bigger picture, but assign what's actually relevant to the people that you're trying to help or to yourself. If you're pushing a message on the mass public with something you don't actually do yourself, you're a fucking charlatan. if you're pushing something that doesn't actually have validity, you're a snake oil salesman. But if there's something that is actually proven within reason, obviously that's a looser term than I wish it was, that's proven to work for the majority, then that's the thing that should be fucking pushed out there, right?
Do you think though that I don't want to knock evidence-based crowds too much, because good evidence is good evidence, and we definitely should be looking at what the evidence says in anything that we do in terms of a science field, and we are, a mixture of a science and an art, really. I think personal training, but do you think that's this sort of get out of jail free card where you have this confirmation bias? Someone else has done the research review for you. Someone else has done the study for you. Lane Norton put a great post up recently going like, have you actually checked this? Have you cross-referenced this with other studies? Have you gone and found other studies that disagree with it? And no one does it. No one does it. Everyone finds a confirmation bias. And what I think is getting lost in this is few people understand principles. So let's say we take two people. Let's say we take Luke Lehman and we take generic evidence-based coach number one, and they both read the same bunch of studies. And they are both, let's say the studies are influenced one way in a certain argument. That's, evidence-based coach number one will just say that is true because this, and this says this is true. Whereas someone like Luke will be able to have a rational thought because he understands the principles of what's going on, to be able to kind of go, right, this is how this works. This is how, now does the evidence back this? I think a lot of people don't dig deeper now because it takes time and it's hard work to not have a foundation knowledge to understand what these studies are looking on and not be able to poke holes in them. So they take everything at face value. People should know, if you want to talk about hormones, you should have a rough idea of pathways. If you want to talk about exercise studies, you should have a rough idea of mechanics and anatomy, because you can look at a study and be able to go, right, is this valid? Or is this just, I don't know any different?
Yeah. And how many people will jump on PubMed and just look at the headline, or will just look at the key points? And even then, the key points can skew your beliefs a certain way if you don't look at the complete data that's on there. And just using as a quick example, I called out this kid the other week, and his response, his first response was to block me and then find me on another platform and actually give me the study that I asked for. And I read the study. And the deeper you went into it, it didn't completely disprove him, but it showed that the claim he was making was irrelevant because these studies were based on incomplete data, potentially biased data, and what I felt was a slightly flawed method of only really tracking. It was to do with carbs intra-workout. And the different groups they were studying, every single one had done a different type of workout, and it only really seemed to be one workout. I'm like, surely this should be a long-term study. Anyway, I commented those points back. And all I got back was, I can't believe it. I've shared the evidence that you wanted. I've given you the highest statistical grade evidence that you could possibly have, and you're still discounting it. You're obviously just a clown. But when you went to the evidence-based section of this PubMed study, it said this is low-grade evidence. This one is moderate. This is low. Everything was based on low grade. But because it has meta-analysis in the title, and the key point says there's some validity to this thing, people go, boom, got it. That's my proof. I'm going to hold this. That goes in my bag. And they carry it around. And this is what I'm seeing on this fucking post as well. People have taken one single thing or a lot of anecdotal data, and it becomes an entire belief system.
And this is where people's egos get hurt, right? And this is where I think we'll go into more these where we think tribalism actually is going. But you look at when people don't have any sound principles and you don't understand the layer deeper with any of this stuff, someone discrediting a viewpoint they have isn't a chance for growth. It's a knock to their ego. And you see this with this guy. It's like, well, I gave you the evidence, and now you just repeat it. It's like you took this really personally, and say, look at the things now. We get to a point now where people are giving sound bites of advice. I've said this a lot. Yeah. You just need to be in a caloric deficit. Just need to be in a progressive overload. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Your clients also know that. The reason why you don't say how to do that is because you don't know how to do that. And anything that is deeper than that, because a certain person says this doesn't matter, you will go, well, it doesn't matter. Meal timing doesn't matter. Fasted cardio, pointless. Branched chain amino acids, pointless. Any supplement other than creatine, pointless. And I'm like, okay. I'm not saying any of those comments are wrong. Like, is the overall calorie balance more important than meal timing? Yes. Is overall calorie balance more important than whether your cardio is fasted or fed? Yes. But if you actually understand a little bit the pathways, there's validity to fasted cardio. And if you've got a client, like I'd like to see what these trainers could do with somebody who I know this is an unrealistic thing that no one's ever get, but imagine you got the most genetically gifted client with the biggest drive, and this was their number one priority, like Jack and I had. What could you do with that person? Could you really get them? Like people like Callum Raystrick, right? We're definitely a shout out podcast today again. Callum Raystrick works with some of the most driven, committed clients. And people would say, a lot of coaches would boo-hoo him and say they're easy clients because they're not to their ego. And maybe they are. But Callum knows how to get those guys in the best shape of their life because he's not throwing stuff out and he knows where application meets science. And sometimes that will mean fasted cardio. Like on paper, right, I always look at fat loss as it's like the emergency car park. When the muscle car park and the liver car park and the brain car park's all full, we'll put the cars in the emergency car park. Now, we don't take any cars out the emergency car park until we've kind of depleted the other car parks. So when you look at this is why you have to be flat to sort of really get lean. There's going to be a period where you look skinny.
Yeah.
And fasted cardio plays on that absolutely irrefutable fact. Now, does it mean you have to do fasted cardio to get lean? No. But does it mean it's rubbish? No. Meal timing for blood sugar management, appetite control, digestive, potentially useful.
Yeah.
Can people get lean on 1 meal a day? Sure. Sure they can. Can people get lean on 12 meals a day? Sure, but throwing it out. And I think more people, this going back into our topic, I think people throw things out because it goes into areas you don't understand and you don't want to look stupid more than they generally don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Like,
that's exactly it.
Why do you think, because certainly in the fitness industry, right, I think we're probably outside of politics, one of the most tribal industries. Yes. People have camps.
Yes.
Why is there so much aggression? Why? We all know they're tools. People can get lean and being vegan, keto, carnivore, fasting. But why does everyone hate everything else, do you think?
This is the weird thing, and I do question, does this happen in other industries? Does this happen in the finance industry? Do people in the higher levels of finance argue what method someone used in their trades to earn X amount of money so they could go buy their Lambo? I don't know if that happens. I really fucking don't. So I think part of it is because in the fitness industry, a large portion of it, let's face it, is more, you could even call it a new industry. It's the aesthetics industry. It's not really just about fitness anymore. It's about how you look, which is obviously tied to self-worth. And if there's a method you used that allowed you to look a certain way, which is tied to your self-worth, and whether someone is attacking it or whether you just feel someone's attacking it, they're not attacking your method. They're suddenly now attacking your worth, your worthiness. So therefore, you're going to push back a little bit. But I don't get why it's so aggressive. I don't get it. I don't get why it's so frequent amongst certain fields. And plant-based, yeah, plant-based is pretty bad. They seem to be quite vocal. They were certainly the most vocal on my post. But there are, I'd say more the keto and the old school paleo crowd, not so much the carnivores, seem to be very, very, very dogmatic with this as well. Then some weird people fucking jump on it as well, saying we should just eat fruit and you get all your nutrition from the sun. These weird fucking things. And
when we start photosynthesizing things, I'll try that diet.
maybe it is just a culmination of we're now everyone's putting their self-worth on the line because there is now this ability to take your top off on social media 700 times a day and 3 million people fucking see it. Or, I mean, like I say, egos are getting triggered and self-worth is getting triggered. But in the grand scheme, doesn't matter if you're vegan, doesn't matter if you're carnivore, doesn't matter if you're fruitarian. If you've actually got in a position where you're shredded with lean muscle mass there, not skinny shredded with lean muscle mass, and we take your blood markers and everything looks all right, and you've got some decent cardiovascular ability, essentially, everyone did the same thing. They ate in a calorie deficit. They got the right amount of sleep. They nailed their amino acid and mineral intake. All these things end up with the same result, right? So yes, there's many, many methods to get there. And some probably are a bit easier for the general population to do. If you want to tell CEO in the city with kids as well, who has to get up at 5 a.m. and doesn't get home till 9, and his high blood pressure and things like that, that he's got to completely go vegan and only eat fruit and sun gaze and shit like that. Fucking stupid. But mate who lives out in the woods in a cult, it's easy for him to do so. But again, like I think it's more tied to self-worth than people realize, because there were some very aggressive replies. Well, I'm vegan and look how athletic I am and look at the amount of muscle I've got and I can bench 200 and I mean, you look at their profiles, you don't see fucking shit, so they're obviously bullshit. But it's why are you even mentioning that? Because I didn't mention anything directly about you. I didn't mention anything about veganism or meat eating. I literally said don't eat like a fucking gorilla because we have different gut biomes and very different dietary needs. I didn't say anything about anyone benching or strength or anything like that. Why was that such a common thing that was coming up? People were defending themselves when I've not even attacked them.
Do you think there's a societal? Yeah, do you think there's a societal aspect of this as well? Because this is a trend I still research heavily into the fitness industry. Like, you know, I run a mentorship. I run education for gyms. Like I have to keep on the cutting edge of stuff. But I look at other stuff now. Like my interests are broader than they used to be. And when you look at some of the politics stuff and the gender identity stuff we spoke about on other shows, and we're not going to get too much into that, but there's this common trend with people who are, I don't want to use the term marginalized because I don't entirely believe it, but like the hardcore feminism movements, the race cards, the vegans in this instances here, where there is a victim mentality that's becoming more apparent in the world. Where I saw a sort of like a women's panel talking about, has feminism gone too far? Some of them were pro-feminist, some of them were anti-it, some people were in the middle, you know, just a general debate. But I saw a lot of the trend from the pro-feminism people where it was, well, they kept talking about their race. Well, I'm a woman of color. Well, we weren't talking about race. We're talking about gender. Yes, but I am a woman. And they couldn't do this, or they were talking about their disability or their injuries or the other stuff that's going on. And you couldn't separate it. Well, I'm a woman who's disabled. Cool, but we're talking just about men and women. Yes, but my disability. Is it the same here where, you know, people have got, because it's so an emotional connection to, I may have struggled with my weight for years. Now I found paleo and it's changed my life. It becomes this victim of, you're attacking my ideology. And they can't separate it. It's a tool that worked for them, but it's not a tool that works for everybody.
It's definitely a more fragile society in every fucking aspect, in terms of race, in terms of class, in terms of gender identity, in terms of whatever ism you want to fucking label things. People are a lot more fragile now and a lot more defensive because they've tied their worth. Without getting too esoteric, this is the thing. Most people don't actually understand what their identity actually is, because they've assigned their identity to interchangeable labels that they could lose at any fucking moment in time. So they don't actually know who they are. And therefore, how can you attach any sort of worth? You're attaching your worth to the label you're assigning yourself. As soon as that label's attacked, you feel you're being attacked. And it doesn't matter whether that's in terms of diet, whether that's in terms of politics. We're seeing it all over the fucking place. We're seeing it in the political realm now with what's happening with Trump. We're seeing it in the fitness industry. We're seeing it fucking everywhere, right?
Do you think it's getting really murky now, though? Do you think it's getting really murky? Because I like to consider myself someone that's relatively self-aware. I grew up in a world, but really kind of when social media was coming up, so I didn't for a lot of my life really without it. I do a lot of internal investigation, let's call it that. I have a therapist. But I sometimes look at the person I think I am and go, am I this person? Or is the fact that I spend so much time on YouTube and Instagram, is without even being aware of it, the person who I think I am actually heavily influenced by the viewpoints, the algorithms that I have? So now we got people that are feeling triggered by stuff. Maybe this is part of this emotional society. I'm just throwing a solution out there that they're triggered and they don't even know why. They don't even know who they are. They don't even know they do know who they are. Like, it's murkier now. It's not a case of I don't know who I am yet.
Yeah.
I think people don't know.
People don't know. The filters have all been broken. There's so much. We spoke about this so many times, but there's so much coming from social media, the news, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all these things that people are scrolling through every single day, multiple times per day. Not necessarily choosing to follow things that have an opposing view, which would create some sort of balance. They don't. They double down on their echo chamber, which just feeds the motor neurons that are being, or feeds the neurons, that are being developed, that lead you to certain emotions, responses, behaviors, habits, etc., based on the information that you're taking in. And if you then constantly take in things that make you angry, depressed, you're going to make some shitty fucking choices in your life. But if you took in some of the opposite sides, you would create a bit more balance to it, a bit more nuance to the argument. You would maybe understand if you do actually believe that thing that you're spouting or not. But we don't. We just create our own little echo chamber because we like being the one who's right. But I do wonder, is it getting worse, or do we just have more access to the noisiest ones? If I went and lived in the woods in my cabin, which is still the dream, and went into the town every week to get whatever I need, food-wise, whatever, or just to socialise in some way, shape or form, would I notice this stuff going on? But then again, would I go to a town where that is the general ethos around there? Is more of this happening, or do we just have access to the loudest versions of it? That's what I can't figure out.
That's a really fair point. This is something that I've thought about quite a lot. Like, as you said, right? The whole of this podcast came up with the idea that you made a random post that went viral, showing me that there are, for every person that does that, there are millions of people that never get heard. So we are only hearing the things that get caught. And so it gives us this view of the world that people are at each other's throats all the time. And I also think there's an element of, there's so much choice in this world. There's so much things that are bombarding for our attention that many people are living in this fight and flight state. And I can relate to this. I'm not going to make the most calm, rational, educated decision with anything about my opinions, my matters, my comments on social media, what triggers me, what doesn't, my decisions with my clients, my friends, my family, when I'm on this survival, almost constant level of overwhelm. Yeah. So, I'll tell you this in a stupid thing. Last weekend was WrestleMania, right? I'm a big wrestling fan, as everyone knows who watch the show regularly. It was also rugby sevens, and I had my mum and dad down, so I couldn't watch it. And it's 2, 3, 4 hour shows, right? So it takes a while to catch that shit up. I managed it yesterday. And I felt anxious for not having caught up on this wrestling show. Why? Because I didn't want spoilers. It wasn't because I didn't miss it. It wasn't because I just love wrestling so much that I don't like the fact that I can't sit and watch wrestling all day. It was that I now can't go on social media. I now can't go on YouTube because I don't want to see spoilers about it. Now, part of my routine, part of my day, part of my calming down is watching a video on YouTube. So now, I'm now in this moment where I'm now thinking about work and thinking about all those other stuff. And this all spiraled from me not being able to catch up on a blooming wrestling show. It left me feeling on edge. And that's how much of people's identity are wrapped up on social media. And imagine that in I'm going to bring this back to the fitness industry in terms of tribalism, because your question earlier on about does this happen in other industries? Do people in finance argue about this stuff? And I would probably argue no. And I think one of the reasons why I think no, this isn't the case is, one, because there's a very clear metric that you can't really refute unless like daddy's money. The more money you earn, you're doing something right. The leaner you are doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something right. There's enough gray area. There's enough caveat in the fitness industry where people go, yeah, but his blood work's probably bad, or yeah, but steroids. There's enough stuff to discredit that you can't just go, well, they must be doing something right because look at them. Yeah. And I also think that we're also a younger industry. Yeah, so true. The people on social media that people follow are 20-year-olds who we aren't expecting them to know their viewpoints. They haven't had time to create proper first principles. Yeah. And these are the people that are going to get triggered. They're also going to be people that are probably going to look the best genetically. Mm. And this is what our algorithm is going to be, because not many people listen to 40, 50-year-old PTs. We do, but that's taken us a while to find. And I bet you didn't get into the fitness industry because of Stefan Gazalt. I'm not saying Stefan Gazalt's old. He's just older than the 21-year-old influencer.
Yeah.
But now he is who I follow now.
That's the big difference, right? I went through this phase of, when I first entered the industry, I was following the people closest to me, my athletic coaches, things like that. We didn't really have, maybe YouTube existed, maybe, but certainly nothing else did. Then the people I started following were like American strength coaches, because I liked that sort of stuff, and I liked the way they were training, and I liked power, explosiveness, that sort of stuff. So I'm following their methods, and they were always the first to share where they got it from, to the point they were writing books or doing videos about those coaches. So you had access to those coaches' knowledge, which then made me think, those are the guys, I need to get that guy's book. I need to read Super Training by Mel Siff. I need to get a Verkhoshansky stuff, all these different books, and it excited the fuck out of me. And that's what I loved reading about, and I went further and further. And then I get down I carefully step into the rabbit hole of, well, there's nothing new under the sun. This information already exists, and maybe some of the older information is correct as well. And you can't just go down that rabbit hole, because we learn newer stuff. We adapt, we optimize. Not everything that was written years ago is necessarily 100% correct, but there's still validity to what was going on back then. Look at guys like Vince Gironda. Look at the Victorian era strongmen. There's some validity to what they were doing, because the proof's in the fucking pudding of how they look and how much weight they can fucking lift. But I don't see that happening with this new industry, because their closest access is to younger guys on Instagram and TikTok who aren't sharing where they've learned it from. They're all trying to claim it's, it's their thing, whatever.
That's fair.
And that older stuff won't necessarily be forgotten, but it won't be used half as much, without a doubt.
That's a really interesting point, because like how often have we spent time calling out other people on the show? Like we
probably more than we needed to.
We don't plug ourselves much. I've done a couple of episodes with Steve where I've talked about my mentorship, but I've not really talked about it with you. You don't really talk about Fat Loss Fast Lane. We talked about your talk and libido stuff. So but we plug everybody else, and maybe it is too much. But I like to be that kind of person that gives back to the people that have helped me. But if we went to other fitness podcasts, some will, but I don't think other people are doing that. And if they are doing that, how many people of them are doing this with the integrity of I want to give back, or how many people have, well, can I attach myself to this person? And it helps me skyrocket. If I quote James Smith, if James Smith reshares it, then maybe I'll have a few followers, as opposed to generally caring about what James Smith said.
Yeah, that's true. People who've known me for a while will know the fucking situation with this post. There's people who have never heard of me, never seen me before, that have just seen this post, and their instant comment is, oh, you're just saying polarizing stuff just to try and go viral and get extra followers. And those who know me know that's not the fucking case at all. I was just ticking the box of putting a fucking video on my Instagram. That's all I was fucking doing. I don't care about going viral. I don't care about having... Like, the follow account makes no fucking difference to me. In fact, it makes things a little bit worse now to try and find my direct audience within that follow account now. So, but I'm not saying I'm extremely grateful for it. It's potentially opened up some other opportunities. It's a cool thing, and it's been funny as fuck to see the moronic people jump on this, right? That's the biggest win out of it, is I've laughed my arse off this previous fucking week. But, but at the same time, there's some people that are going, why are you trying to claim to be an expert? I've never said I am. I've never said I am. I'm just sharing the stuff that is relevant and helpful to my direct audience, which is all proven as well. I'm not trying to be a fucking expert. If someone wants to ask me, delve deeper into those methods, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be sharing the sources of where that information has come from, rather than just going, I'm right, fuck you, here's an attack, here's a personal attack on how you look. It's here's why I'm correct in this line of thinking. And if you don't want to agree with that, cool, best of luck to you.
And I also assume that if someone genuinely gave you a genuine argument as to why you were wrong, you would encourage it rather than get offended by it.
That's why I've not deleted a single fucking comment apart from the really fucking racist ones. There's some stupid things on there. There's some people have made themselves look very, very, very bad. I ain't going to delete it. Some people have made some nuanced argument and some anecdotal argument. I ain't going to delete that. The number of triggered people that jumped on there saying, yeah, well, I'm a vegan and I've been vegan for the last 3 years and I've built tons and tons of muscle. I've said, cool, best of luck to you. But it's not relevant to the point of the post anyway. But best of luck to you. I don't need to argue that. I don't need to argue that because I'm sure you're doing great. And cool, carry on with it. If you've made it work for you, awesome. You're in the minority, but you've made it work for you. But then it's not. It's the majority personal attacks. It's just borderline incoherent fucking trash, most of it. But that's what makes it go more fucking viral, because then people want to argue that fucking trash or agree with that fucking trash. And that's a circle I don't want to be fucking involved with, you know? I really don't.
So if someone is new to this tribalism and the fitness industry, maybe they're somebody who is looking to get in shape for the first time, or maybe they're a brand new coach and, oh God, they're going to get the world destroyed by it. As a man who we spoke about a few weeks ago, having pretty much joined a cult, and we're talking about essentially fitness cults, let's go through some of, like, we'll take it in turns. What are the biggest sort of red flags or bullshit things that you see that shows somebody isn't as educated or as much of a guru as they say they are?
There's an amber flag to watch out for first that you've kind of touched upon already. If it is a young male who was already in semi-decent shape anyway, and he's not got a lot of client results to show, you can't just go by what he's doing on himself. Because at that moment in time, his testosterone's through the roof. Genetically, might be fucking absolutely... That might be a Mr. Olympia in the making based on his genetics. You don't know. It's tough to tell. But that doesn't mean you discredit every single young person. It really, really doesn't. The first red flag would be, can you have a conversation with that person? A, without them automatically trying to sell you into their service within the first fucking couple of lines. And B, without trying to sell you directly into their chosen method. So if, bless them, if a vegan wanted to jump in the fast lane, I will probably steer him away, because I will say this is not my area of expertise. Unless you've got a history of making veganism work for you, and we just need to double down on your lifestyle decisions, maybe looking a bit deeper at the nutritional choices and your training, then yeah, I could probably help you. But if you're just starting out with veganism and if you're completely in horrific shape, I don't think I'm the best person to help you. Vegetarians, cool. Let's go. Got way, way more experience in now, because we could play around with eggs, we could play around with fish, that sort of stuff. So much fucking easier for me to deal with, which is why I don't try and appeal to vegans. I don't necessarily try and appeal. I don't really talk about either. I don't really. If I talk about anything, I'll talk about macronutrients. I won't talk about the exact food choice, right?
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. If they instantly try and sell you into their dogmatism of carnivore, paleo, keto, fasting, vegan, whatever the fuck it is. For me, that's a bit of a red flag because that's instantly discrediting the fact that you are an individual, and you are an individual that fasting may not work for based on your lifestyle more than your biology. And the same for all those different methods. There's not one fucking method. There isn't. So if all they're trying to do is, rather than help you, they're just trying to sell you into their dogma. That's the biggest red flag. And unfortunately, not enough people have that filter to be able to see that red flag when it's waving fucking bright. And sadly, as much as we try and do this with our coaching services of help people not make the mistakes that we've made, sadly, some of the best opportunities, the best learning opportunities come from being burned.
Yeah.
You know, to everyone should know what it feels like to stick your hand in a fucking fire or on top of a candle. And if you don't, you've missed out on a valid fucking life experience.
And we hold the Self-Made podcast has no responsibility for anyone that sets themselves on fire now by putting their hand on a candle.
100%. It was nothing to do with race either. Apparently, both people experience the same. So don't put your hands on a candle, kids. And if you do, don't complain to us. And like I said, we've just had a liability waiver there anyway.
Yeah, I think the top red flag, maybe it's just because it's the forefront of my mind, but it really does my head in, is people using Hollywood actors. I'm getting this Spartan samurai UK fitness bullshit guy. And I'm going to rant about him a little bit here. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but he's a fucking charlatan. And
I think I know what you mean.
Using this is the secrets that the Hollywood actors use to get in shape, and they'll put people like Chris Hemsworth and Thor. I saw one say this is how Tom Holland got in great shape, and I'm sitting there going, it's not through your 18-minute hormonal home workouts. And the fact you have to use these guys as your marketing, when you see that, you are bullshitting people. You did not work with these people, and you also do not know what they did. You could have researched it all you like. It's very hard to find out exactly what somebody did. And
if it is the same guy, we're talking about,
bold British guy.
There was a beautiful one. Maybe it's not the same guy. I think this kid's got long hair, but it's been a while since I looked at his account. This guy was doing the same. If it is a different guy, he's doing the exact same thing. This is how Henry Cavill got in shape for Superman. This is how so-and-so got in shape for this. And the Henry Cavill one was fucking beautiful because this is how Henry Cavill got in shape for Superman. And he did this fucking bullshit, boring hypertrophy workout. And Michael Blevins, who is the guy who works alongside Mark Twight, who actually trained Henry Cavill for Superman, commented saying, this is not how Henry Cavill trained for Superman. This is not even close. And the guy's response was, well, from the few articles that I've written, this is just that I've read online, this is just what I've culminated together. Michael Blevins never did a fucking interview with anyone on how he trained Henry Cavill. And further down this guy's page is a 300. This is how the Spartans got in shape for 300. And he does his own bastardization of a 300 workout. And you can go on Mark Twight's website and download the training diaries of the actors from 300, and you will see the 300 workout being performed twice. Once at the start as a test, second at the end as a test. And that's it. There is no... I'm like, where do people get the confidence to fucking spout this bullshit and then take money off of people? It really fucking worries me. So I'd say, yeah, as soon as someone mentions a Hollywood actor, probably the biggest red flag ever, because they did not fucking work with them.
I'll throw a follow-up one in there from the same guy. He spouts these hormonal home workouts, right? So you do 18 minutes of home workouts a day, and it's more effective. And he talked about, and I'm going to get to the red flag here, about doing this endless cardio. That sounds like another fitness charlatan we'll talk about in a second. If you do hours of cardio, that's bullshit because of what you release cortisol, and cortisol will basically rob you. If you demonize a hormone, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
True. People saying, "Well, if cortisol will rob you of your muscle mass." No, hold on. Without cortisol, you ain't building fuck all muscle mass.
That cortisol, you ain't even getting up in the fucking morning, you clowns.
Like I was so close, and I probably still will actually. I might start commenting. That may be I get a few followers, but commenting this guy.
Because it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fucking fun.
Yeah, like just like demonizing that, making this about hormonal workouts. When you're just looking at it and go, why is the weight training sessions like why? I know you're trying to do a home workout thing, but don't bullshit people that it's going to be as good as this. And actually, what people were doing was, their own home workouts. And I will throw Chris Hemsworth's Circle app into this, because he's not saying, which is one step better, that he did this to get in shape, but he's insinuating, look at me, I am Thor, let's do these leg raises with this random guy on a video.
Yeah. And let's not discount the Hollywood secrets. That's all we'll say.
Mm.
And I don't just mean exclusively lighting and camera trickery. There's other things going on in there,
What's your next red flag?
Are they open to discussion? That's the thing. Are they open to discussion? Which is why I don't delete anyone's stuff, which is why I don't block anyone. I've had kids sliding in the DMs and they're constantly messaging me, trying to poke me to argue back with them. Give it a rest. I'm not fucking responding because it's not worth my time. But I haven't blocked you. I haven't deleted you. I'm not trying to create this echo chamber around my method. I haven't even got a fucking method. I've got a group. I've got a community. And most people in there are following something slightly different to the others because everyone's a fucking individual. Are they even open to discussion? If you question anything they post, do they attack you? Or do they calmly explain? Or whatever, that's a red flag. But again, the problem is I'm spouting red flags at red flags for me. And beginners aren't going to, newbies to the weight loss realm aren't going to look for compassion and empathy. Can you see any sense of compassion and empathy on their page?
Yeah.
And if not, run a fucking mile. Because that's not somebody you want to hang around anyway.
Yeah, I would throw integrity, which is my next red flag. Throw integrity in there. Yeah. And there are subtle ways that you can tell if someone has integrity. And it's just, we kind of touched on the last one of like, are there lies in their marketing? Because if they're lying to get you in, what else are they going to lie about? About their methods, about how well they work. Yeah. The actor's workout's going to be the other one. The one recently, and I know everyone shits on V-Shred with good reason. But for anyone who's sitting there wondering, V-Shred was not on Joe Rogan. And the lengths he went to lie with the red flag and the right mic and the boom arm and the headphones and the angle of the camera. He's not even on a podcast. And you're thinking, like I get it. Editing tricks and camera angles and making yourself look as good as possible. Yeah, we all put our best foot on social media. I'm a very firm believer in that. If you're comparing yourself to someone on social media, the problem is you, not the person on social media you're comparing themselves to. Every one of us puts doesn't put the photo with our eyes closed where we look a bit fat and our profile looks shit as the photo. We put the best one. We put the shredded one. Yeah. But he's gone out of his way to lie. When I post up a shredded picture and I'm not looking like that, I'm not saying I look like that now. You are insinuating that you're on Rogan.
Yeah. Like James Smith did one years ago. And it was clearly fucking parody. Biceps and Banter guys have done some amazing ones. And it's clearly fucking parody. Anyone could do it. It's going to be a common fucking meme, right? And I've seen V-Shred's one where they have gone to great lengths to make it appear that they are actually being interviewed with no sense of parody in there whatsoever. And I've seen companies that are selling one supplement that Andrew Huberman promotes, and they're using clips of Huberman on Rogan as if they're Huberman's company. It's so sketchy. It's so fucking bad. People won't, mate, when the deep fakes go a bit more public, oh my God. Honestly, through AI art, so, and for anyone who doesn't understand the Essex accent, that is AI art. For AI art, I reckon by the end of the year, we're not going to know what's real. We're not going to know what's real or not.
That's super scary. We talked about the AI recently.
So fucking fast.
But it's so scary. I saw the picture of Trump getting arrested recently, and that's super scary. And but again, and that will be the case. And we came to a conclusion the other week that AI will not affect the fitness industry because the people who are good will come through rather than having shit workouts. But where I do worry about AI taking over is in the sense of, from a marketing perspective, we've already talked about the cream not rising the crop, and this will just make the dumb PT sound better and be more polarizing, and they'll be able to type in a response to this comment, and I just think it'll accelerate people who are very good and have potential just feeling like they're banging their head against the wall because they can't keep up with the V-shreds of the world.
Fake results as well, man. I swear it's going to happen. If you think, what was the big thing with UP's results? They would take people like Glenn and Photoshop the tattoo off or something like that, or try and Photoshop a different face on or something like that. And they always fucking got caught out, and rightly fucking so. Now it's going to be a case where an AI can create someone that doesn't fucking exist, really. And if you get the facial prompts right, then all you've got to do is change the body.
Yeah.
It's probably going to fucking happen. We just got to resign ourselves to that. But the sketchiest people are the ones that are going to use that. And again, they're the ones that just play the numbers game. There's no real longevity to companies like V-Shred. It's once everyone realizes it doesn't fucking work and they stop using it, the marketers then create a new company and do the exact same thing. And unfortunately, that's just the fucking nature of the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That brings me on to my next red flag is taking body type quizzes.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I put a caveat on this because I've played around with having a quiz lead magnet.
Yeah.
And I think they are good. Typeform just wouldn't allow me to do what I wanted to do with mine.
Yeah.
But I just think it's when it's formed on, say, like, oh, the reason why you haven't got in shape before is because you didn't know how to diet for your body type, as opposed to like having that tough conversation with somebody, and it sounds sexy, like, oh, it's easier because now you've got this body type quiz. And I think if you're going to do it, it's more about like finding out where you're struggling and where we can help you, as opposed to we've got the answer to your problems here. But maybe that's just a problem in marketing. Maybe that's the reason why I'm not as good at it with some other people. So maybe that isn't a red flag. Maybe I'm just not applying myself well enough.
But that's it as well. I considered using a quiz. But the thing is, for me, I'm like, okay, it can take me through this quiz, but essentially the answer is going to be the same for most people unless I create a ton of resources. So I'm not going to do a quiz lead magnet until I've created those resources, because everyone's going to come up with something different. I can't sell everyone onto the exact same thing and just take them through some bullshit rigged quiz to then go, well, what you need is this, and it's the same as what everyone else is getting anyway. But that's because I have three things: ethics, standards, and integrity, which a large percentage of people fucking don't, which is why stuff gets nicked and regurgitated and recycled, and we don't do that. But this is the sad nature of this industry, is it helps a lot less people than it could do. And we're seeing this because the obesity numbers are rising. The fitness industry, I've said this before, fitness industry is too self-involved to do what it needs to do to help the larger percentage of people that need the help. The medical industry isn't trusted enough anymore. So therefore, the two things that have the potential to reverse this obesity, overweight, diabetic, high heart disease, you fucking name it. The stats are going up on everything, right? So why are the two biggest industries in the world that have the ability to help not actually reversing this trend? Because no one trusts it and it's too self-involved. That needs to change massively. I don't know what that fucking change is, but it's certainly not Matey showing you his third variation of a D-handle single arm pull down to work the iliac fibers of your lat that he learnt from, that he's bastardizing from Paul Carter, but not actually explaining it as well as Paul Carter.
And Paul Carter got it from Cass. So you're going further down the train, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there was a campaign recently to change the name of the lat pull-down bar to the upper back pull-down bar.
Who cares?
That people realising it's nothing to do with the fucking lats. It's to do with lateral. Jesus fucking Christ. People don't fucking think, but that's it.
And that's the argument, right? That's the thing we're fighting over. There's and you see it, like, people fighting over stuff on both ends of the equation and realizing neither of those things matter, right? There was you get the people that are going way too into the weeds, talking about this exact angle to perfectly hit the lats, and you're dealing with Mary, mother of three, never set foot in the gym. She just needs to put on some muscle. Like, it does not need to be perfect at this stage.
Yeah.
You know, for most people, length range exercises, mechanical tension, progressive over time, you chisel a sculpture once you've made the granite. You have too many coaches trying to chisel granite they have not made. And then you get the other side of the spectrum, where you get people who go like, any modification to any exercise whatsoever is overcomplicated. And there's a fantastic video from Jordan Shallow. And I was, talking about, like, people saying that he just puts two handles over a long bar. He goes, if anyone wants to do, like, this is not difficult. If you want to do hard things, get out the fitness industry. Two handles over a long bar is not complicated. And then and Paul Stanhope, another video, was like, if you think banding exercises is there to make it easier, you don't know enough.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. That's the thing. And it goes back to how we came back at the start of this show. Of people are arguing, does this line up with the exact fibers, or is this handle necessary? And not saying, right, where is this applicable? What is this tool for? People are too quick to boo-hoo stuff and go, right, rather than saying, where does this fit in my business? And I think that is the problem we are facing.
It's this whole thing of give people a lot of what they need, but a little bit of what they want, right? Some people love going down that sort of route, and so they're going to lap that sort of stuff up. But if you're not giving them the basics, the actual thing that's going to build the physique, the hard work, the progress tracking, whatever the things that you do actually need to begin with. There was a kid recently that was discounting the Arnold press, and he used the sentence, Arnie was all the gear and no idea. Jesus fucking Christ, lad. Really? But we can't discount methods that were previously fucking used, because our learning is now a little bit better, because we now have a deeper understanding of the anatomy and lining up fibers and things like that. But how many people have made insane amounts of progress without ever worrying that shit, without ever knowing about that shit, because they're focusing on the basics?
And I'm not a fan of the Arnold press either. But I can make you a video and tell you why the Arnold press is an isometric front delt exercise, not a rear delt challenge, all day. But at no point do I have to slam one of the greatest bodybuilders in history to do it. Well, why do you have to say Arnold Schwarzenegger's all the gear, no idea? Go on then, mate. Train with Arnie at whatever age he is, 60s, 70s. Like, good fucking luck. Like that's the stuff that pisses me off. We have an industry more of tall poppy syndrome. Or people go, well, how can I take this person's above me down? No. How can you learn from this person so they bring you up? Don't be a prick.
Yeah.
That's my most heated rant of the day. But
this is the problem, right? I'll reference this clip so fast because I only just thought of it, and I need to find out what film this is from, or if it's from an advert or whatever the fuck it was. I thought it was beautiful. Sliced Alone, and he's Sliced Alone now, and he's in this little, like, what looks like a hotel gym, and he's got these two shitty 12-kilogram kettlebells. He's doing this like terrible fucking overhead press. It's terrible, but he's Sliced Alone. Who gives a fuck? Doing this terrible thing, and this guy comes up behind him going, listen, man, you need to stabilize your core, drive from the knees, you're driving from your lower back, and this isn't going to help you. And basically Sly turns around and says, how about I take this kettlebell and I swing it into your fucking skull or something like that. Now there's the part of the industry that will think that's fucking hilarious, because they look at that guy talking about drive with your knees and keep your spine straight. They look at that as like beginner advice that's not fucking relevant. But they don't realize they're doing the exact same thing, talking about how many people are now taking their own D handles to the gym in their backpack now, and as well as their bands, and sticking the foam roller under the pendulum and all this different stuff. They don't realize that they're kind of becoming that as well, because they're coming dogmatic with this one thing that might make the movement optimal. But fuck me, again, take gear out of the equation. injecting yourself doesn't equal a physique like Sly Stallone. It doesn't.
Well, and people look at that and go, that shoulder press is wrong, rather than sitting there looking at, right, okay, let's look at this guy. He's in his 60s. He's in great shape. He has a lot of like mature levels of muscle mass that's been worked on for a while. Like, well, how about we go, okay, this guy knows how to train hard. This guy's done this for a while. This guy knows consistency. You know, there's lots of, before we look at, okay, what's wrong with this guy? How about we look at all the things that go, what is he showing that I can learn from? And that's not even just people with Sly Stallone. This is like your mate in the gym, your client, your friend. We all can learn. I take pride in the fact that I want to learn from everybody, and I don't want to look down on anyone. Like, if someone can't perform a split squat properly with a client as a coach, I'm not going to go, well, let me tell you how to do it. Like, if they ask me for advice or they come to my mentorships and they want to learn about split squats, I'll teach them. But also, I've learned stuff from my mentees. And if I had this mindset of, you know, I'm this guru, I think I wouldn't go anywhere near where I have.
I think the biggest lessons come from our clients, but we have to have the understanding from practice and habit and consistency in the industry, as well as the higher levels of education we have access to from people that have come before us. And the industry's doing neither of those fucking things at the moment. Too self-involved.
So to finish off this episode, as we talked about not plugging ourselves enough, and I think this is the time because you've got a lot of momentum. Tell us about the Fast Lane.
The Fat Loss Fast Lane is about to launch two separate things. A new entry-level free program to get into my paid coaching service that is going to help you unravel the negative habits, beliefs, and emotions that you are telling yourself that are keeping you stuck. Because I can give you a diet plan, I can give you a workout plan. It doesn't mean fuck all if the environment that you've created yourself is so negative and highly charged with bad emotions that you're not going to follow any sort of diet plan because you're emotionally eating and you're staying up late at night trying to get some validation on social media. Then what is a PDF plan going to do for you? It's not. And I think it makes you a little bit easier to coach later down the line because we've already kind of covered some of those ground basics around your decisions and your choices. I'm also, just because it's something to do for the people that want it, going to release a bunch of workouts as well. Because some people just want to learn, just want fun workouts that they can commit to for X amount of time. So I'm going to do those two things as well. One of my biggest goals, I kind of touched on it at the start. Maybe I didn't actually. Maybe I'm dreaming. It's all my video. Anytime I'm on camera, it's all blurring into one thing at the moment.
Before we click record, it's public speaking. Before we click record, so say it on air.
Before we click record. So I have this moonshot goal of speaking on stage in front of 1,000 people. And so obviously there's various things there's various steps I need to go through to be able to get to that level. Because that's a big level. 1,000 people on stage, that's big. And I'm not talking about a large scale event like IFS or something like that. I mean people come to see me. But maybe that means going down those sort of routes and speaking on smaller stages at larger events. Who fucking knows? So you're going to see a lot more of me, hopefully, on other people's podcasts. I'm restarting my YouTube channel as just like a little solo, long-form content platform because those things are going to help me in my selfish pursuit of speaking in front of 1,000 people. But that's only going to work if I dish out the highest quality information that is applicable to the most amount of people that can act on it. So keep your eyes peeled. But I'm not the only one with stuff to launch and talk about, am I? Can't just talk about me.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, not as exciting. Although I'm hoping that when you do your 1,000-person talk, right, you're going to need an opening act, right? I'm the little local band that comes on before Pink Floyd. So just keep me in mind for that. I'll be your warm up act.
Damn right. It's about who, you know.
So yes, in terms of launching, we have now decided when we are going to launch the second intake of Coaching Confidence, which will be starting the first lecture on the 11th of June. The prices will be going up. We have some really good feedback. We've had some really good results from the first intake. And I'm moving back to the UK and probably going to be doing a mixture of this being the podcast and the mentorship full time, which means we're going to be giving a lot more on this intake than the previous one. with that in mind, if you are interested, if you've been following me for a while and go, I kind of like what this guy's chatting about, and yeah, I'm sure some of you think I'm a dick, then this isn't for you. Drop me a message, because if you want to jump on early before I publicly announce it, you can get that at the last prices. So if you want to jump on early, and if I can fill it up before I even put it on sale, that will save me a headache, and in return, I will give you the January's rate. So we've got that, and then we're going to be about to launch the Inner Circle kind of group, which is going to be called our Self-Made Coaches group, which is going to be the follow-up to the guys and girls that have won it already. Where we're going to be doing a deep dive mentorship and more client roundtables, more guest speakers, which would be great to have you on at some point talking about some of the stuff you want to talk about, and free access to all future if you want to go through it again. That's the aim for that. That's essentially what I'm going to launch. And then just this social YouTube, Simon Kingsley Dutton. Subscribe on that. Follow me at Kingsley Dutton. For all of Robb's new followers, if you want to jump over my way as well, that would be great. And for the racists that followed Robb and started to comment about him being the white demon, please don't follow me. I don't give a fuck about you lot. But the rest of you, you're more than welcome.
They're coming, bro.
All the
White
racists.
demon by proxy, they're coming.
Mate, but pleasure as always, man. Let's get back into this routine, and I'll catch you next week.
Let's do it, people.
All right.